Welcome to PRI 2024. We are recording live the Dragzine podcast here this year, a pseudo Dragzine podcast, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We've got a captive audience over here checking in, so bless their hearts, they get to listen to all of the fun. And we're going to be talking Nitro, and it's going to be fun, exciting, people rolling into my side here. We have Mr. Josh Hart. We got Joe Castello, who is like a better version of Ed McMahon that will be helping out and providing all kinds of fun stuff. And I'm excited. It's Josh. We're talking Nitro, man. You had a interesting season this year, but from watching, it seems like you guys are really we're just going to jump into it. You guys are really working towards having a big 2025, aren't you?
Yeah, 2024 was absolutely horrible. Worst year in my career, but we were chasing our tails all season. We had a lot of learning curves. So excited about 2025. We brought in a lot of extra brain power with Jake McCulloch joining our team, and couldn't be more excited to add more full-time staff and really get this program going in the right direction.
And, I'm sure Joe can attest to this as well, that, the NHRA tour at the Nitro level, it's a grind. And you got to be willing to take those punches and roll. And my question with Joe to kind of put to Josh here as well is, what are your thoughts on recovering after a rough season? From what you've seen people do, what's your typical driver take? What do you see them do?
Well, if you're asking me my opinion, it's that Josh was a comet going across the sky in his first season. He had an unbelievable breakout that we have never seen before. He won his first race, and so that set the bar, I think, maybe in the minds of people unrealistically high. I still think he has performed very well. Last year in his worst season, he's terrible, he's down, he's making all these changes. It wasn't that bad. His driving was great. It's very tough out there. It's a brutal competition. And so I'm excited about what they're going to do in 2025. I think Josh is one of the big personalities up and coming in the sport, and the more people get to know him, the more they like him. It's just about going rounds and tough moments. I know Ron Douglas, and Josh will probably be the first to talk about it, was stressed last year, and it's not the kind of sport where one guy can be the guy anymore. You look at all the super teams. They got 2 guys, they got 3 guys, the Force guys, they got 3 guys on each car in some cases. And so I think Josh made a huge move for 2025, and it's going to work out great. And you can't trees don't grow to the sky. You can't maintain that I won my first race and had an unbelievable season every season. There's always going to be up and down. So last year was his down year, and I expect big things in 25. Josh, are you on board with that analysis?
Yeah, 2021 was storybook, and I definitely did have that expectation going into 22 and 23, and we just kind of started to lose our swagger a little bit in 23. So, again, we just kind of ran out of the old school parts that we had from the acquisition. So when we started adding all this new stuff, it added all these new elements. And it was just a learning curve that we couldn't correct quick enough. So, I focused on the things that I could focus on, like my reaction time. I think we still ended up second fastest in the world to Justin Ashley, but driver can only do so much. And I've said it before, this is a sport where truly the crew chiefs are the kings of the sport. A lot of people don't realize that. We can cut a good light, we can keep that thing in the groove perfect and do everything just systematically and still end up coming up short. So the responsibility, the heaviness of the decision making and stuff definitely falls on the crew chiefs.
That kind of makes me want to ask a question of you, Josh. I grew up around the sport, I'm a fan. And, you see people, and Joe alluded to this, you have multiple guys come in. What is it, you maybe explain to the masses, why as a Nitro team do you bring in these multiple guys? The old phrase, sometimes you get too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm assuming that isn't necessarily the problem with the multiple crew chiefs. Are they all having different areas of expertise? How does that work? What are these guys doing?
For me, it was, Ron Douglas has no problem making power. So in the engine department, Ron's going to be, solely making those calls, I believe. So we needed somebody that really could make the clutch talk to the engine. So that's how I kind of applied that logic to having multiple brains focusing on one car. They all have their strong suits. You could also have a guy that, wants to set low ET every single time he goes up there, and the other guy is going to kind of contradict that and say, hey, we don't need to set low ET, we just need to get this thing down the track. So it's a good yin and yang type of posture, is my opinion.
That makes sense. That's, you have different approaches on how you do things, and different crew chiefs how they do things. So that makes sense, where you've got the guy that's really good at one thing, and then maybe you need to kind of you got to have someone that reels the hammer in, right, Joe? Someone that says, let's back this up just a smidge.
Well, it's so situational. What is the situation we're going for? Are we not qualified, and is the bump 80? Is the bump 85? What are we doing? Is it clearly in the final round, that's swing for the fences time, but what are the conditions? And that's what's so amazing about these Nitro crew chiefs and what they have to deal with, and why it is probably beyond any one individual anymore to process that data in 45 minutes. That's another aspect of it, is you got to manage the guys. Josh has got more full-time people this year, but the chemistry of the crew, are they doing everything exactly the same every single time? Because if they're not, then it doesn't matter what the crew chief does. And so that ecosystem that is a Nitro team is amazing, and getting that together to be at the championship level, that's really the hiring, and the chemistry is really the art of it. And then you got to let them take it. But I'm excited to see what happens. I have a question for Josh, though. Josh, now that you're kind of a veteran in the sport, you did go through what I would call a learning curve of people that have been in the sport for a long time, kind of getting to know you. And now I feel like you're totally integrated, on the starting line, staging procedure, all of that. Talk a little bit about that arc, that just jumping into the sport, racing at a high level, winning some races right away was kind of interesting, because people didn't really know, who is this guy? Where did he come from? What's the story? And there's all this inside baseball etiquette that's going on that I don't think fans know anything about it.
I was just a fan, so I knew nothing about it. You go out there, and in 2021, we're getting ready to go down the track for the first time in competition at the Gator Nationals, and I'm just hoping to qualify. So I'm still driving like I drove my alcohol car. I'd take a big chunk, didn't think nothing about the gentleman staging stuff, and I just raced, man, and it was a lot of fun, and we won. That didn't go over so well, amongst my peers. So, you learn things. I think every single person at one point taught me a lesson or so, and I pay attention. So I appreciated them. I appreciated them kind of accepting me into the circle. And then in 2022, you start to try to focus on that kind of stuff. Still had some issues, staging and stuff like that, just with timing. A couple of times I probably shouldn't have even been driving the car, didn't feel good, neck issues, this and that. But in 2023, I feel like all that stuff kind of went away. And I said it before, but you start to focus on your own processes, and it becomes very repetitive and systematic, so you're really focusing on what you can control inside that car. And 23, I think we really sharpened our pencil, but in 24, it was the same every time. You're not taking this big chunk, maybe in the final round, nobody cares, but you're trying to stage shallow. You're trying to get your 60-foot times down, and we couldn't to save our life. I was shallow as could be, flickering the bulb, and our 60-foot times were horrible this year. But you just learn, and I'm good at adapting and overcoming, and all I can say is that when you work on yourself and you really focus on the education by studying all these amazing drivers, the fastest people in the world, you're going to follow suit.
And speaking of, the having fun and, adapting to things, you're doing a pro shootout this year, correct?
Absolutely. Couldn't be more excited about it.
It's like he's 15 minutes from his house. He could probably sleep in his own bed.
I was like, let's talk the pro shootout. I'm very fortunate. I'll hopefully be able to be there this year. After I watched it on Flow, I was like, all right, I got to go check this out. Just because of how I could feel the energy through the screen. As a racer, was that the same? Did it have this old school Saturday night quick 16 shootout feel? What was that pro shootout like?
It was epic. I mean, it was a race put on by racers, so it was just awesome. We had a great time. It was a test session wrapped up into the actual, competition itself. I was blessed to even be invited. I'm proud to be going back 2025.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to see you guys doing that, and I think it really, and I'm sure Joe will agree and chime in on this, the personalities. To me, it gives racers a chance to show their personalities more because, let's face it, like NHRA national events, they have a very, we'll say, corporate business-like feel. They have to. It's your job. You're there to work. The pro shootout's almost like a party, right? That's kind of like the feel that I have. It's a big old horsepower party.
Yeah, I mean, NHRA is definitely corporate. You're not going to get the excitement that you probably wish you could sometimes. And for me personally, this is me all the time. I don't misrepresent anything. I try really hard not to. I'm pretty even keel, so I don't have that party bone in my body. If you want to get a rise out of me.
Not true, man. You are a death metal drummer.
True story.
Okay.
True story.
So, like a lot of people would be like, well, the drummers in general have got something extra going on.
Maybe it's in there somewhere deep down inside.
Yeah,
but
we just got to get a drum kit out there. Maybe the Pro Superstar Shootout is a place to do that.
I'm into that.
I want to get that at the NHRA. I've been lobbying.
Okay.
Drum kits are not, maybe Gainesville.
All right.
They're not easy to travel.
My FanFest.
Can we do that? Can we lock it down right now? You just set down the drum kit, your own drum kit. We'll do the Josh Hart drum solo at the FanFest.
Deal.
Pub it right now. Deal?
Yeah, deal.
Where's Elon?
Yeah.
Where's Elon? Abby. Mark it down.
Mark it down.
I'm so excited, by the way, Brian. Like, I found out that he's a drummer. Obviously, we all love music. But to see someone like Josh, who is even keeled, that I'm joking with him, that is his demeanor. But inside, there's someone who likes to rock out. And he's successful in business. He drives a top fuel car. So there's all this balance, right? I want to see him at a drum kit. I know it's going to be wild.
I'm going to date myself here. Maybe you'll get this movie reference. It's like Buckaroo Banzai.
It's funny because I actually have seen Buckaroo Banzai, but I don't get the reference. What's the?
He's in a
no
band.
idea what you're talking about.
Buckaroo.
Stay out of it, Josh.
It's a B movie.
C movie
that stars Peter Weller. That it's totally.
How does Wagner know Buckaroo Banzai? It's crazy.
I'm a wealth of useless knowledge.
That's very useless.
It's an absolutely amazing movie, but the gist of the plot area is he's a scientist. He drives a jet-powered truck that goes into another dimension, and he also plays in a successful rock band.
That's pretty much it.
So it's like, you are Buckaroo Banzai. You need to go watch this movie.
Don't do it, Josh.
I'm noting the research tab. I'll search it.
Yeah.
I mean, it fits in my little twisted squirrel mind. That's what I'm seeing.
It is twisted if you bring up Buckaroo Banzai, but people are laughing out there. The one person who saw it 500 years ago. I didn't know you were that old, Brian.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. I am a young Gen Xer, if you will.
Okay.
So I'm old enough to know better and also young enough to like to have fun.
To not care.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
And I guess maybe that's what attracts me to the Pro Superstar Shootout kind of thing, is it has like that feel of when I was a kid going to some of these Thompson Motorsports Park in Northeast Ohio, where you would have someone like Mark Powick there, or you'd have like the traveling circus of like old school match racing. Like you can't match that energy. Am I right, Joe?
Well, so NHRA this weekend here at PRI, I think is going to make some announcements, and I don't want to get in front of it, but everybody recognize that match racing is probably where most people get their first taste of Nitro. And it used to be back in the day. You hear the barnstorming, Snake and Mongoose, and they're going around, and people would see the cars, and then the national event, the real highest level competition, benefited from that. Like, oh my gosh, 2 were amazing. What would it be like to see 16 actually race at the highest level? And people understand that we need to rebuild that. But Nitro cars are so expensive, right, Josh? Like, just to run it one time, like the track operator at a local track is probably, it's going to be tough to book 2 of you guys in there to do 2 out of 3 or Chicago style or however you would do it. But NHRA's got some announcements on that front, and I think the Pro Superstar Shootout is a sample right? In February, it's a sample. You don't have a full national event. You don't have 400 cars. You've got a limited invite of the pro teams, and you go out there, you're testing, you're learning, you're getting ready for the season, but then you have a shootout for big money, and the fans get to come in, and it's exciting. And for me, what I think is cool is it gives the racers the responsibility, and I say this as a contractor who works for the NHRA, the responsibility of running the show. So they see, like, it's hard to run the show, and what do you think the show should be, racers? And you guys, Josh, last year you did the 3 qualifying sessions in one day.
Yep.
And that had never been done before. And I think NHRA was like, oh, we don't want to do that to those guys. It's like, well, wait a second. If you win on Sunday, you got to go 4 times, and everybody wants to do that. So NHRA then said, you guys want to do that? You're okay with that? We'll do it. And they did it in Richmond. So it's a great platform that you guys have created for yourself to show the rest of the world what you think is cool.
And I'm a big fan of that. I mean, as a working, person, it was very, very beneficial to be able to execute that and get home to start Monday fresh. So I really liked that format. Back to your match racing comment. Do you remember when Salinas literally pulled out like a stack of cash and tried to match race somebody?
Yes.
That's what it takes, man. That's what it gets everybody excited. I mean, I know it's expensive to run these things, but just him jumping outside the box. I was a big fan of that too. I thought that was just epic. I can't even remember who he challenged, but I remember he called him out right there on the spot.
And people didn't know what to do with it. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's got money. Because
yeah, it's not about the money though. It's about the challenge. Like, don't take that the wrong way. I mean, obviously, if you're playing in this arena, you probably have a little bit of jack behind you, but it's like, for somebody to just step out of the box and go, hey, I'll give you, you take me on the line, or you do this, $5,000. That's what gets everybody excited.
People will pay attention.
So, I'm very fortunate. I get to travel and cover all kinds of racing. Been around a lot of, the outlaw small tire stuff, grudge racing. I have been present when there has been $100,000+ riding on one race, and I'm getting, the hair is standing up right now remembering what that was like, because the only description I can make is if you've ever been to an MMA fight, the walkout, the energy, these two dudes are about to throw down. That's what that's like. That with Nitro, I don't know if Mother NHRA is probably wouldn't want to see, the gambling line.
Don't be surprised. No, see, that's the thing. Don't preconceive what they might be into.
But that whole situation, if you have I could just imagine, someone even keel Josh going up there, doing an introduction and looking someone, like Antron Brown dead in the eyes, I got a 10 spot here that says I'm going to drag you from pillar to post down this track.
Yep.
That right there would be you want to bring people into it. I'm a dirt track racing fan too. They had the Dirt Gateway Nationals. They had a fight on the front straightaway. Now, do we want to see Josh Hart and Antron fighting on the starting line? Absolutely not. But it's that energy. It's having that kind of energy to it is what would, I think, attract more people to being like, oh, this isn't what I thought it once was. This isn't my dad's NHRA. I like this.
That's why the Pro Star Shootout got so much traction. I mean, you had to pay to enter, but you got that back plus 10. So, and I mean no disrespect to NHRA whatsoever, but it's like $10,000 to qualify at a national event, and you're sitting there going, I spent that to get here.
Yeah.
But,
well, they are hoping to address that. I think that's coming.
But the Pro Star Shootout was like, hey, we're going to put all the money out. We're gonna do this, and that got everybody's attention. So I love that idea. I think put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, it just, again, that's one of the coolest things about drag racing, is that you have so many different layers to our salad. There's so much cool stuff, and being able to bring different parts of that in would be. There's nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with keeping up with the times and changing things up and bringing different areas to the sport like that, because it makes it's exciting. And, racers get into it. Joe and I are fans. We get into it. Speaking of fun and chaos, we've got our next guest joining us, Mr. Buddy Hull. He's off camera right now. I told you, Joe, this was going to be barely organized chaos, right?
It seems good to me. Josh is in a chair. I'm sitting here. Yeah, we're good. Buddy's going to come in. That's fine.
Yeah, Buddy, come on in. Grab a mic. Tag Josh out. Josh can stay. Josh can stay. We run things fast and loose here. This ain't a formal.
What's up, buddy? How you doing? Good, brother. You good? Josh, what's the rest of your day look like?
Whatever Elin and my wife set up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I like that. That's good. It's like no responsibility.
Been together with her 22 years, so you kind of do what you're told.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's before you have to run, in case you do have to run, tell us about that FanFest. You got all these people here at PRI. We're going to do the PRO Superstar Shootout. A couple of weeks later, won't be long, Gator Nationals. Huge year for the NHRA, and you at your home base of Bernie's Speed Shop in Ocala, have taken the responsibility of doing the FanFest. Like, that's normally an NHRA thing. We do it in Vegas. We do it all over the place. You guys said, Ocala's 50 minutes away, not that far, but further than you would think would work for a FanFest. And yet last year, it totally worked, and you guys blew it out, and it's now, in my opinion, part of the Gator National. So talk about the day. It's a Wednesday before. A lot of people fly into that race, and they haven't booked their flights yet. They need to fly in, to Orlando, right? Because Gainesville, you can't really fly into Gainesville direct. Fly into Orlando, come straight north, stop at Bernie's for the FanFest.
Yeah, we're really blessed to be able to say that event has been a success 2 years in a row now. I think we had 9,000 people on site last year.
Unreal.
Lots of amazing, iconic cars to view. You can check out the secret projects we got going on in the service department, but more than that, it's just having the ability to get, 35 professional drivers in one spot to sign your autographs and sign everything that you could ever desire. I mean, the drivers have been amazing. Super blessed, again, just that they even pay attention to us. So when they show up, we try to roll out the red carpet. All the fans are open, to asking their questions and getting whatever they'd like signed. It's just a great time. Open house, Bernie's Speed Shop. We're going to do it every year.
And Josh is going to be on the drums.
And I have committed to doing
You've committed to being on the drums, Elin, while you were gone. Now, buddy, why did you not go to the FanFest last year? What was the reason you skipped it?
Josh's?
I'm kidding, man.
I was there.
You're at everything.
And I'm playing the harmonica this year.
See, do we need a harmonica player?
That would make me feel a lot better.
Do you really play the harmonica?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, my God. I was going to say, this is getting cooler and cooler. We got a blues place down the street. Let's go.
Yeah, Josh's FanFest, I'm going to talk about it real quick. If you're listening and you haven't been, that alone is worth the trip to Florida, right? But, last year, Josh really does roll out the red carpet for the drivers. He had an incredible dinner for us, and I got to sit down and have a dinner with Don Garlett. So that was pretty monumental for me. So it was pretty cool. So, Josh, thank you for that.
Unreal.
No, thank you for coming, man.
Yeah,
Unreal.
We had a great time.
Well, now we got Buddy Hull joining us. Buddy, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're just barely organized chaos here, jumping around in. Thanks, Josh. Josh is going to go off and do Josh Hart things. So.
Thank you, Josh. Arnell Carriers, by the way. They shipped everything here.
Sorry we don't have theme music to play people on and off yet. That's in the budget for 2025.
Come on, Brian.
Lean's on that.
Where's the band? Live band.
Like WWF style entrance?
Yes, exactly. Next year I'm going to hit a button and you can come in. Yeah, exactly. It's all about the having fun, which, buddy, we know you're all about having the fun. 2024 is a big. You jumped in behind the old funny car. Let's talk about that adjustment, going from the long pipe rack to the short pipe rack with the cover.
Yeah, well, it's what I prefer. What's cooler than a funny car? I can't think of any automobile on this earth that's cooler than a funny car, and then to be able to drive one is even cooler. So it's a blessing. Jim and John, Diane, Jonna, they treat me like family. We got an incredible group over there, team-wise. And our sponsors, they're incredible. So to have that transition to go from a part-time racer, racing my own car, to be able to drive for them full-time, it was a complete no-brainer for me. I own my own business as well, Vertex Contractors, and for me, I couldn't, even if I financially could have done it, I could not have raced full-time owning my own team, because I'm too busy. So for me to work with the Duns and be able to race full time and actually free up my time to focus on my business more was a no-brainer. And you know what? I get to see you guys more. I get to see Joe 20 weekends a year. That's a big bonus, right? I love Joe.
Yeah, Brian, the reason everybody goes drag racing.
Yeah, it's because of Joe Castello. Are you kidding me?
Sarcasm.
And I get to see all my friends, every weekend, or not every weekend, but 20 weekends a year. Well, it's a big deal to me. There's nothing I'd rather do more than drag race outside of spending time with my wife and my son. That's what I want to do. I'd rather drag race and have my next meal. So to be able to do it 20 plus times a year is, for me, is a dream come true. And I'm here for the long haul. Whatever it takes is what I'm willing to do to stay out here and win.
Some people might call that an addict, but in our sport it's normal, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because I think everybody on this planet, should have a passion. It doesn't matter if it's driving a Nitro funny car or playing the drums, whatever it is. I think when you find your passion, you have a purpose, right, outside of your family. And then when you have that purpose, when you're driven, your life is better, right? It keeps you out of trouble, per se. So hey, if you want to call drag racing a drug, I'm okay with that, right? Because it's not a drug that's going to harm you. At least we hope not, right? So I'm good with it.
How great is this guy, right? That's why I love Buddy. Is he's a motivational speaker, independent of him being a great racer and all of that stuff. But he does bring up these aspects. You do have to wake up with a purpose
every day, man.
You got to wake up with a purpose. Now, our purpose, right? Going fast to a line first. We're trying to get there. But look at all the great things that have come out of the passion for drag racing. All the charitable moments, like the Colettas with the Feeding America, all the different things that come out of the crazy obsession with getting from this point to that point in a car ahead of the other person.
Greatest group of people on the planet, So here's the deal. Yeah, you mentioned a few things, but it's also and Joe, you mentioned big things, but it's also the small things, right? So for example, the way that I call my track family took in my wife and my son. There's no other sport on this earth that's going to do that.
I don't know. Have you seen his wife? She's tremendous. Maddie is beautiful.
Yes.
We don't need. I think you missed it on that one.
Yes, that's true. So that makes better sense.
We love Maddie in spite of you.
We wish she was here. But that's right.
Just kidding.
The deal is, it truly is a sport and a group of people that I believe once you get into it and once you're there, I don't know how anyone will walk away. I see myself evolving in motorsports. I think I have another 15, 20 years of driving left in me. But after that, I'm okay with being a team owner and letting my son drive or someone else that has passion for it. Because, I don't ever not want to be involved with this group of people. They're the best in the world. And, let's talk about this side of it. Let's talk about the stories that the drivers have and the stories that the owners have. I mean, you mentioned Connie Coletta, right? Self-made man, right? There's no question about it. Connie didn't have anything. His last name wasn't a trust fund name. He built an empire so he could go drag racing. I mean, literally, I've heard stories about this guy from very reliable sources that specifically say, Connie said, I'm going to build my business so I can drag race the right way. So I mentioned earlier, find your passion, right? Connie's passion was drag racing, not flying. But guess what? Flying was the required, I guess.
It was the means to the end.
I have always heard it said this way. Cameron Evans, son of Steve Evans, who is a friend, always said, because he loves Coletta and they're close, he always said that they are much the way Ferrari didn't want to sell their cars, but they had to fund the racing team, that they are a drag racing team that has an air freight company to fund it.
That's right.
Like 100%. Coletta Air is a drag racing team, and the funding operation for the drag racing team is the air freight company.
That's right.
That is the largest in the world. It's amazing.
And the truth is, the stories, I mean, I can highly relate to those stories, because the truth is, if it weren't for drag racing, I wouldn't have to work this hard. I'm a business owner, and I've made large investments in drag racing over the years. And the truth is, if I didn't drag race, I wouldn't have to work as hard. I could probably cut my workload in by 10-15%. So it's a passion. You got to find it. And it's as American as it gets, too. I was thinking about this the other day, right? So let's talk about this real quick. Name another sport that you know for sure, no doubt, no question, was founded in America. Go.
I don't know, baseball?
Name one. No, sir.
No?
No, sir. Japan.
Baseball was not invented in Japan.
It was.
I'm fighting back on that.
Okay, Google it.
Well, even if I Google it, I rejected the fact. Creating my own reality.
It's not an American sport.
Wow. What?
Name a sport that was founded in our country outside of drag racing.
Well, drag racing definitely was.
That's it. That's the only one, right?
Wow.
So it was born, quote unquote, in Southern California. So drag racing is an American as it gets. So if you're a patriotic person and you have that built into you, it's also part of the whole culture of drag racing. I think that's why our fans are so loyal. You know what I mean? Like, it's part of the loyalty of our country. You know, it's the coolest thing in the world.
Absolutely. All right, let me ask a tough question here, Brian, as if you don't mind. Okay, Big Jim Dunn. Everybody loves him. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves the team.
Yeah.
History just won the NHRA Lifetime Achievement Award. We want to see this car in the winner's circle.
Yeah, me too.
And I know you do too. So what can you share about what steps are being taken to make that happen? And Big Jim said it on the stage that he's willing to blow up some more stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, so let us behind the scenes a little bit. What's happening for 2025?
I think you could expect a much more aggressive team this year. So last year we put a lot of new parts into play, and in doing so we made a lot more horsepower, more than the team has ever made, and we struggled. We struggled with smoking the tires at the tree, you know, and then we struggled with, you know, smoking the tires between 300 and 500 feet. So, you know, we don't believe necessarily we had a car problem, but we felt like the style of chassis that we were running kind of has the parts surpassed the chassis. So the car, our spare car from last year is at Murph McKinney's right now. It's getting a whole revision with the slip tube front half. So, you know, and we all know the back half of Funny Car, they're all the same. You know, it doesn't matter if they're 2 years old, 2 months old, or 20 years old. They're pretty much all the same. So we already had a modern back half, but, you know, we're putting a modern front half on the car, doing all the updates to the car. And so what you can expect is that all the higher level parts that we plugged into the program last year will work better with the chassis. And just getting more aggressive, you know. You know, Jim wants to win too. You know, it's amazing. A man at 90 years old, you know, that's been doing this will be his 75th year, by the way. Celebrating 75
Think
years.
about that. That's
75
crazy.
years of drag racing. So, you know, he jokes around. He says, "Well, someday I'm going to get this right," and I think he means it. He's not kidding when he says that. So, what you could expect out of our team this year is a lot more aggressive. Period. You may see some parts flying.
Are we going to get to see the new car at the Pro Shootout, the SCAG Pro Superstar Shootout?
We're not going to the Pro Shootout. I don't think we'd have it done by then, to be honest with you. You know, it's right now. It's cut in half right now. It's at Murph's, and I don't think it'll be done by then. Even if we wanted to go, I don't think we could, because the time period, you know, between the time we dropped off the car until that race. So we need more time in that. I mean, we're doing it all. We're going to, you know, replumb it. You know, we'll basically have a new race car. To the eye, it'll appear as if though it's a brand new race car. There won't be much left on it that's used.
And that makes an interesting point, because I think, you know, people sometimes don't understand how much it takes to put one of these cars back together. Even something that's, we'll say, as, you know, I hate to use the word simple, as a funny car, there's still a lot that goes into making them do what they got to do, putting them back together.
Well, it's thousands of hours, right? I mean, that's, you know, when you look at it all put together, like, oh, it looks pretty simple. That part's bolted there, and that. It is not that at all. Everything is, you know, precisely fitted, and it takes a ton of man hours to put them together. So, yeah, you know, people over the years have done calculations and how many thousands of hours that it takes, but it's not hundreds, it is thousands. From a funny car being just a roller to it being at the starting line, it's thousands of hours. Yeah.
At 100. So basically, everything is there. It's not willy-nilly. It's all very thought out in how it's put there and what's done with it.
It's got to be. There's only so much room there, you know. When you take a look at a funny car versus a top fuel dragster, for example, there's a lot of space to put things, right? You can spread things out, right? As an example, you know, in a top fuel car, you basically got, you know, the motor and the clutch, you know, behind the driver, right? And then in front of the driver, you have all the, you know, the electronic, pneumatic, you know, controls, if you will. So on a funny car, you don't have the ability to spread it out. You have no space. So everything is not perfect and fit correctly. It's a problem. I mean, you look inside of one of those toy boxes on a funny car, and it's full. It's completely full. And then every single thing on a funny car has a place and a purpose.
Inside the toy box, like, I'm not a wiring guy. My wiring sucks, but even inside that thing, I look at that, I'm like, that gives me anxiety.
It's a lot.
With a lot of stuff in there. That's, yeah. Oof.
Can we address something with Buddy, a funny car racer? I just want your take on this, and I think, we got PRI out there for those of you guys listening in the future. Like, this is amazing. Just what a great, thank you for the invite here, Brian, because I get the great, everybody's walking in right now in front of us.
Incredible.
And they're listening to us, and they're forced to listen. And I know we've got off-road guys here, and sprint car guys here, and stock car guys here, and road course guys here, and sports car guys here, and international road racers here. I would love to hear you talk about 341.68 miles per hour to 1,000 feet, and the just impressiveness of any man-made creation, a machine of any kind, being able to accelerate to that speed in only 1,000 feet. And we saw Austin Prock and Jimmy Prock accomplish it. Tasca did it at the Pro Superstar Shootout. A funny car driver, Chris King, is sitting down with us as well. I would love to hear you talk about, like, does that number blow you away also?
For those guys, no. I mean, I expected out of the Procs. I mean, that family over there, they're a trio, right? And they're the baddest out there right now. There's no question they're the baddest out there. So I would expect it out of them. As a matter of fact, I can't believe it took them to the end of the year to run 340. I expected it earlier than that. But what a feat that is. I mean, on paper, from an engineering perspective, you would look at it and be like, it's not possible to do that, right? Have something sitting parked to go 341 miles an hour in well under 4 seconds with a driver inside. It's just, you can ask, a quote-unquote rocket scientist how they feel about it if they didn't know, a lot about nitro funny car, racing, and they would say not possible, right? Because it's such a feat, right? And then, to know that that's another barrier broken in our industry. So, you really think about where we're at, right? Let's talk about this, because this is on my mind, right? So, barriers are always kind of by tens, if you will, right? They used to be by 50s, right? Or by tenths, right? Or half a second back in the day. Now it's by, we're into barriers, overcoming barriers by like this, right? So the next barrier would be what, 350, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, 350.
Somewhere Lonnie Grimm is.
We can make 345 the next barrier.
Or is it though?
340 for a top fueler.
So right. But let's talk about it, right? So you got funny cars running 80s, right? Can funny cars run 70s?
Well, one did once. Huh? Yeah, 70s are coming.
Yeah, but yeah, Robert Height. Right?
Robert Height.
Was it a 78 with a
79.9, or it was like barely touched the 70s.
Okay.
But I was there. It was at Brainerd. I saw it. It was amazing.
How long before 3, 4, 5 of them are running 70s at an event? And how long before 3, 4, 5 are running between 338 and 342? But most importantly, I think this coming year, I think you could see 343, 344, and I think you could see multiple 70s. I'm going to throw it out there and say that both force cars are going to run a 70 this coming year.
I know Chris Cunningham thinks they can do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it out there. I know what they're onto. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but I know what they're onto, and I see the consistency. And whenever you're running those kind of numbers every single weekend, you're collecting the data, and you're just inch by inch getting to that point. And I think you're going to see both those Force Funny cars running the 370s this year.
Hey, Brian, I know you got limited time, and Chris King is getting in here, but you know that Buddy is a talk show host too?
Yeah, you get the what was it, the talking funny cars?
Yeah, talking funny cars. Yep.
Yeah.
He's going after our jobs now.
Yeah,
like, that's the thing.
I'm going to wrestle him out of his job. You know what I mean?
Can you believe he's a power lifter? He's a funny car
Whatever
racer.
Takes,
now he's a talk show host on TV. It's like the most streamed on the NHRA Fast channel.
Hey, so
what's that like?
So Joe's got this. He's got Pontiac fever.
Project Pontiac, baby.
So Joe's got a tattoo. It says Pontiac fever. He just doesn't show it to everybody.
It is.
That was a lie, but it sounded good at the time, so I said it. Anyway, all right. So here's the deal. I got to find somebody. If you're listening, and what class you gonna run?
Super Street. 1090 index, 2,300 pound car.
If
so
you're listening,
family car.
If you're listening to this podcast, or you know somebody, or if you're listening, you know somebody that has the same class, same car that Joe's driving, I need to borrow one.
Oh.
For the first weekend.
Match race.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
I need to borrow one for the first weekend, whatever track Joe goes to.
We can make that happen.
I need one because I want to be the first person to race you.
What?
I was on the podcast the other night. Did you see my comments?
No.
Yeah, you and Dujournay and Monday Morning
I didn't
Racer.
get to see any of those comments.
Yeah, I was literally talking shit to you.
What?
Yeah, you didn't see it?
No, I didn't
So
see it.
I said
I would have totally bid on that. I would have been.
I was totally talking trash. I said, yeah, I want to race Joe Castello. It'll probably only take me 5 to 7 minutes to light the first bulb, and then I'm going to go ahead and put out the top bulb. You didn't see any of that?
You're nothing, Buddy Hall.
I know.
Just saying.
You're
I think
not
I can take you in this arena.
So I mean, I want to get some fans involved. I need to find a car to drive, and there needs to be some dollar bills flying around over.
So on this note, because we got to get Chris in here, and then I'll be quiet. But I do have Pontiac Fever, Project Pontiac. If you would like to see the engine, I would love for you to come by and see the engine.
Yeah.
It's in Foggett booth 2312. Gary Stinnett, who is a 4-time world champ. Foggett is great spray for the inside of your engine. 2312. Come by, see the Project Pontiac engine. I believe it's a work of art. I think you will love the way it looked, in spite of our new rivalry. But please come by and check it out. No, Buddy Hall is going down in a 2,800 pound car. I think I could take him. Hi, Chris King. Hello.
Hey, Joe. Buddy. What's going on, guys?
Well, welcome to the chaos, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
I'm glad I made it. Yeah. Left the firehouse right away this morning and drove straight here and literally just walked in. So, long morning.
Yeah, it's funny. We've had all these different people. You know, we had Josh Hart. We found out he was a drummer. Buddy Hall, power lifter, business owner. Now we have you're a firefighter that drives a Nitro funny car.
Play hockey as a goalie, former drummer, general contractor, you name it, I do it.
Career best this year, right?
Career best, top speeds we have ever done, and believe it or not, there was more in the tank. We just missed our opportunities.
And you're running the Reed rocker system, too. Like, you're the only ones out there. Like, you're the test bed for Daryl Reed's rocker system. And that's a lot of the alcohol cars have it, and it's working clearly.
It is working phenomenally. The car, you can tell how it idles on the stands. It just sounds right. The geometry is dead nuts perfect. A lot of nostalgia Nitro guys are running those rockers. Alcohol guys swear by them. I'm the first to help Daryl develop them for big show cars, and people are looking. I got lots of guys coming to the pits, taking looks at them, seeing what we're doing, and kind of picking Bob's brain a little bit. And why is that car running like it's running? I got to tell you, that valve train is solid.
There you go.
So, having you on is cool because you're like, in my mind, seeing you at some of the events, like the old school privateer setup. You guys aren't working out of the giant hauler. It seems like you guys are just you're a family party over there doing Nitro stuff. Is that the vibe? Is that the real deal?
Well, that is the real deal because that's reality. That's really what we are. We are a bunch of guys that were hot rod gearheads as kids that wanted to go fast and kind of pecked our way at it. And against all odds, we stacked the deck and made some things happen, and now we're big show racing. And it's volunteers that donate their time to me to make this happen. 99% self-funded, which my wife's not too happy about, but we make it work. And it's funny you mentioned the big hauler and things because I just actually dove off the cliff last week, and we picked up a semi and a big trailer that we're going to convert over to bring more parts and pieces so we can do this the right way. Not that we weren't doing it the right way, we just had a trailer that was overloaded and unsafe going down the road. So we're making improvements.
Overloaded and unsafe is funny because considering, for what we do for fun, putting on a fire suit and a helmet, that's like the MO, that's the norm, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, but when I say unsafe, it's not unsafe.
Yeah.
But you think about it, it's a F-350 pulling a 50-foot gooseneck trailer, so them brakes are screaming, the motor's screaming. It's possible. It's just not the way you should be doing it. So we adjusted some things and begged, borrowed, and pleaded, saved up some money, and we were able to pick up a dirt cheap semi truck that we're going to fix up and make our new team hauler. Being
kind of, I don't like to use the word underdog because to do this kind of stuff, you've got to, there are no underdogs in modern NHRA racing, at least I don't think. But being more of the old school kind of team, does that kind of give you a lot of a fun feeling to be able to show up and just kind of like be that throwback guy that we see on all these like nostalgia pictures?
So it gives me a sense of pride and accomplishment to actually been able to do it and get there. Just making it to the track in a big show, capacity is something many people told me would never happen for me, and I was crazy to think it would, and it wasn't going to happen, and all this and that, but it did. And we're actually doing pretty damn good for what we have. I mean, our parts are phenomenal, our car's old, our bodies are old, but like Joe said before he walked off, we ran career best numbers this year in top speed, and our car's consistently going 300 miles an hour. So we're on the right path. Our biggest problem is a people problem. It's hard to get crew guys part-time. We get them trained up, they get an itch for it, then they get hired by big teams and then go full-time racing. So we're constantly looking and training in guys, so we don't have the experience in the pit, and that kind of affects us. We missed a few qualifying rounds that would have been big for us, probably better ETs, better speed, and we would have qualified for more races, but we missed prime opportunities on Friday night, or those critical qualifiers that we really needed to make. And that was just mistakes, inexperience, but we're overcoming that and we're getting better.
Most importantly, though, I'm sure you guys are having a ball back there, right?
It is. When it comes down to it, it's great. For me, it's an emotional roller coaster because I got to pay the bills, I got to drive the trucks, I got to drive the car, I got to deal with people, I got to find money. So it's the ultimate highs and the ultimate lows. So at the end of the day, when you're strapped in the car and you have a good run, it's the best satisfaction you could ever imagine. But then when things don't go right, it's like the biggest kick in the gut. And you're like, why am I doing this? It's crazy, but I wouldn't want to do anything different. It's what I always wanted to dream of doing, and someday, hopefully, that hard work's going to pay off.
That's all you can really ask for. I got to look to Leanne. Do we have more time, or do we got to wrap up? Mom says we got to go home.
Yeah, I should have drove a little faster getting down here. Sorry about that.
But I'll tell you what, man. I definitely want to have you on future episode of the Dragzine podcast. We can do some stuff about it. I just appreciate you driving from Chicago and jumping on here, that you'll get to be on the video. But we'll definitely catch up with you in the future, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And we're here all weekend, so stop by the booths. We'll be at Reed Rockers. We'll be at Howard's Cams, Impact Racing, and catch us in the hallways. We're here. So enjoy the PRI show, and thanks for having me.
Definitely. And we are going to wrap things up here. Make sure you stay tuned to our YouTube channel, Dragzine.com. The Dragzine podcast will officially come back sometime in the future, but Leanne was nice enough to give us the opportunity to come here, so we did it, and we'll catch you next time.